We have lived in this kitchen for nearly 12 years, and for all that time, there was a quiet thought in the back of my mind. Someday, someday, this kitchen would finally become the one I'd always imagined. But someday never came, until now. When we built this house, the options that we wanted and the options that we could afford were not the same. So we built the kitchen that we could afford, and I told myself, we'll change it later. But later kept getting further and further away. There was never enough time or money. Every year there was a different priority. Then, earlier this year, we took a trip to Texas. We stayed in this little farmhouse turned Airbnb. Between the architectural details and the antique decorations, there was just something so warm and cozy about the space. It was the push I needed to finally stop waiting and bring that feeling into our home, starting in the heart of it, the kitchen. I couldn't do everything I'd imagined, so I started choosing the changes that fit our budget, fit our schedule, and would make the biggest difference. Little by little, they would move us closer to the kitchen I've been dreaming about. I headed to my local home improvement store to check out their paint selection, as well as some butcher block samples. I've always been drawn to cottage and farmhouse kitchens, kind that feel warm, lived in, and welcoming. I wasn't trying to recreate one particular kitchen, I was trying to recreate a feeling, and that meant choosing finishes that felt warm, timeless, and lived in. The biggest impact I can make in this space for the lowest impact on my budget will be to paint these cabinets. I think painting them a creamy, neutral color will really go a long ways towards bringing in that storybook cottage feeling that I'm going for. I managed to narrow it down to ibis white, ivory keys, and Swiss coffee. My final 3 choices made, I decided to put them down on a piece of plywood so I could live with them in the kitchen for a while before I made my final decision. My 16-year-old son came in during this project and informed me that all of the colors were the same. And while they are similar, there are definitely differences. I haven't landed on a winner yet, but I'd love to know, which would you choose? I think this simple first step is going to completely change the feel of the kitchen. I had hoped for butcher's block or granite countertops, and we ended up having to go with the laminate due to budget constraints. They've held up pretty well through the years, but the wear and tear is starting to show. As you can see, there's a big clash happening between this backsplash and these countertops, so the next piece of the puzzle is bringing in the warmth of wood. Even if replacing the countertops isn't in the budget right now, I think I can create that look. If new butcher block countertops have to wait, I'm planning to use Retique to recreate that same warm wood feel. The thing about cottage and farmhouse style is that it's not defined by one single feature. These big changes will help set the foundation, but the style that I'm going for isn't created by one project alone. It's in the little details that give a space its warmth and character. I'd really like to change up the top and bottom ends of these cabinets here. Right now, they're just plain, they're not functional, and they are not very inspiring to look at. So what I'm thinking is some beadboard up here on the top and the bottom, and then on the bottom also a peg rail to make the space functional. Something kind of like this. This section is actually particularly problematic. This is supposed to be attached up here. It is not supposed to be on the floor. And also, this is coming off as well. I've talked to my husband, and I think he's going to build a custom shelving unit here with a top portion for the treats for the dog and the bottom portion be an X wooden wine rack. For these posts here on the island, what I'm thinking is take these out, and I'd like to add in some newel posts. The backsplash is probably what I'm most nervous about. I'd love to replace this backsplash with a thin brick veneer in a neutral tone that really ties into the cottage feel that I'm looking for. My husband informs me that when we go to messing with the backsplash, it is attached to the drywall, and that is probably going to create quite a bit of damage. So at this point, I don't know if we are going to be able to do that, or if I'll just end up painting the existing backsplash in a color that fit what I'm going for a little bit better. For a long time now, I've been trying to fill the space above the window. It's always felt like something was missing. I've put garlands up there, I've put pictures up there. Nothing feels quite right. So I had this idea, if I can get my husband on board, to actually put a shelf along the top of the window. I think that'll kind of bring the two sides together. Right now, to me, they feel disconnected. I've been looking at this solid pantry door, and I feel like it sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't feel cohesive. It feels like it was just stuck there, and it probably was. What I'd really like to do is replace it with a glass-centered door. Right now, this kitchen is still the one that we built all those years ago. And I don't know if I'm about to make magic or just a huge mess, but there's only one way to find out. I've definitely spent enough time waiting, and all of that waiting has got me zero change. So I'll be tackling this project on weekends, in the afternoons, around my full-time work schedule, and within the constraints of my budget. We'll be starting with paint on the cabinets, and I hope to see you there. Stay magical. Before we begin, one last look at where we're starting and where I hope this journey will take us.